Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you another video. All right, so I was listening to Alan Seawood. He was not very happy about what's going on with the AD not being able to play tonight. Essentially, his point of view is, we need to start the synergy process. We need to get guys down there so they can run back and forth and be um, on a string. That it limits some of the things that we can do when he's not out there, even though it's a preseason game. If he can go, he's missed 5 months. Why can't you go? Was Alan's point of view. I have an opposite point of view. I don't feel that way. I hope I articulated his point properly. But I mean, all in all, he wants AD to give it a go on the sore back. And for me, I don't see any fruit in doing that. I think above synergy for me, particularly early synergy, which is what this would be, is health. And you send him out there on a back-to-back, even though he didn't play last night. You send him out there when he's not right with a bad back, and you could have it be a problem that lingers. He gets elbowed in that back. He's going to be... You have to anticipate bigs taking punishment. It's not about how they're feeling. It's about how they're going to feel after they finish going through what you anticipate them going through. It's not really like that with guards, I don't think, in forwards, but with bigs, if he has a bad back, he's going to have an elbow in that back all night. So if it's the preseason and he's playing out there pushing around with a guy like Rudy Gobert, no. With a bad back, no. Especially when it's meaningless basketball, friend. No, absolutely not. We need to think about what makes most sense. If we have him sent out there, play hard tonight, even for a quarter and a half, and he's not right, and then we send him back out there and keep this up, that back is going to linger. And then we're going to start playing meaningful basketball, and it's going to be an issue. This is a guy with the injury issues. That's the problem. We know that. We got a bunch of bigs on this team. When I say a bunch, more than probably most, so that he can sit as much as needed to keep him fresh. That's why we have all these guys. So chances are, he's not just sitting because of his back. He's sitting so that those other guys can get the playing time that he would otherwise take from them. Because once this regular season gets started, we ain't going to be able to see some of these guys in the rotations we'll otherwise be able to do. So I think it's the opposite. I think him being out of the lineup improves some of the things that we're not sure about it, or it gives us something to hang our hat on in regards to some things that we're not sure of. We know what Bron and AD looks like. We know what AD looks like with certain players, even though we haven't seen them together, because we know if AD's at his best, you can kind of picture certain prototype circumstances based on how players have played with other players who may have been like AD. Patrick Beverly, Karl Towns, that kind of thing. You don't have to really do too much wondering about how that's going to look really as it pertains to AD and those players. But as it pertains to a Damian Jones and how he has synergy with Kendrick Nunn, and how, Thomas Bryant has synergy with, say, Austin Reeves, you don't get as many variations of what you can do possibly with that if AD's in the lineup than you do when he's out of the lineup, because of how many different bigs we have. You see what I'm saying? SGA, I always call him SGA, but it's really Juan Toscano Anderson. It's JTA. I got to get that right. But JTA, Bryant, as I said, Huff, it's so many bigs in rotation. We need to learn who they are. So it's probably best for a coach to get more looks at those guys than for him to have AD in the lineup taken away from those guys' minutes. So that's basically what I'm here to say. It's not just about AD's back even then. It's probably best we see them get as many variations or rotations of those guys over the next 3 games so we know what they look like. Then we'll know if we can establish a bench that works for ourselves, because that's really what's hurting us. Because we're starting these games off just fine with our starters, and then the bench comes in and we're giving the lead back because we don't actually have an established system for our second unit. So that's what's most important to discover and establish, not necessarily the synergy between the starters, because those guys, we know them. So that's really what it comes down to. In my humble opinion, you ain't got to teach AD and Bron how to play with one another. That part is easy. Patrick Beverly, that's a vet. He's got field game to him anyway, so he's going to figure out how to run with them regardless. That is nothing we have to think about. I need to know how the new guys look. Troy Brown, if he's available, we got to get him worked into the equation. And again, Huff, Swider, Pippen, Christie, more of them. Those are the questions we need answered, not some of the stuff that has to do with other things, we can figure some of that out in practice. In terms of the starters and the rhythm of plays and stuff like that, we can figure some of that stuff out during the first couple weeks of the season. And I'm telling you, it's not about necessarily hurrying up and getting established as a great team early. That is not what the Lakers' goal should be, because you're not a complete basketball team until you make the trade necessary. So it's not about that. It's just about establishing the right habits in it and trying to figure out who the team is around the piece that is Russell Westbrook. Getting certain things established that don't have to be tweaked once you bring the new pieces in. That's really what we need to master. Because once you bring the new pieces in, you want all those things already established. Damian Jones, you know who you are, what you are in every lineup you're in. Thomas Bryant, you know who you are and what you are in every lineup you're in. That way, when it's time to make a big trade that sends certain pieces out and brings other pieces in, those things are established. And now we can move forward in establishing that for the second half of the season. Because if we're still trying to search for our second unit and all that, and we start making trades, we're going to be behind the 8 ball all year long. So we know AD's staying. We know Bron's staying. We know Pat's staying. You understand what I'm saying? It's like certain things are like steadfast. They're going to be in place. As to where other things, we got to figure it out. Some of these guys are not even going to be here halfway through the season if they don't mesh well with certain second units. Some of these guys going back down to the G League if they don't mesh well. So it's like, nah, that's where the emphasis must be for Coach Ham, finding out everything he needs to know in the preseason about everybody other than the starters. That's my opinion. I don't think he's playing these starters at all. We should be seeing Pippen and Christie and all those guys for the majority of the game tonight, if you ask me. Get those questions answered, find out who can play with whom and who can't. And then from there, we'll have that bench unit, and we won't be giving up these leads that we've been giving up in the first 2 games. It's a tale of 2 halves because it's the tale of 2 teams. One side of the ball we got, one side of the situation we got. The starters, we know ourselves. We keep leads when we have them guys on the floor. Now we got to figure out how to be able to keep leads when the second unit's down there. So that's pretty much it, man. That is it. Not worried about AD not being out there. You can miss the rest of these preseason games. I would not care. I saw enough from him. 11 and 11 and a bunch of stats in like 5 minutes. He's AD. He's AD. And there's one more thing I want to say. It's in regards to like back issues and certain things that feel like strains. I'm just going from my own personal body and what I've experienced in life. Sometimes the muscle that will make you stronger will need to be rested and damn near not touched on for at least a day or 2, depending on how your body reacts and heals to the work that you've done. Some people can work out, keep working out, work all this, that, and the third. But some people's body needs to recover from the workout and the muscle that's being built. So let's say he's been working on his back in a different way, been stretching extra hard for the last, say, 6-7 days. He may be in a space where he needs to lay down because he could barely walk. I remember one time I had worked on my back in such a way to where I could barely breathe properly until that muscle grew in properly. Like I couldn't even breathe. It hurt to cough. It was as if I had gotten punched in my lungs. But the actuality was I was getting dents in my body in places that had never had muscle before. It was growing the mass strong enough to do things that it was going to be able to do later that would make me healthier. But until I was able to rest, it wasn't going to be me running around or doing all those exercises. I could barely get out of bed. So you see, and then, after that healed up, I was twice as strong in those areas. So you just got to especially a guy who's been working on his conditioning, this is what he's going through. He's getting in better shape. Anthony Davis is working on things he probably never worked on before, and that muscle needs to be established. And if that's what's going on, then this is probably a good rest for him to take time off, let that muscle heal up, and he'll look in the mirror, he'll see different dents in his body, he'll see a different physique, and over time, you'll see him be able to handle more of what it is that he hasn't been able to handle in the past because he will be getting in better shape as this process continues to go along. So that's just my own walk. I'm a non-athlete. A lot of muscle that's coming on my body is brand new because of it. But I think with guys who have also been in the league, who've been doing certain things a different way, when you switch it up, it's the same dynamic. And so I think he has had to switch it up in some ways. And maybe it's a little bit something like that going on. Hopefully it's positive gains that he's having to rest to recover from. That's what I'm hopeful of. So yeah, I just want to throw something out there that maybe nobody's thinking about. Anyway, I'm going to go wipe off this phone and make sure that it's much more clear for my next bit of content. My name is BDL44. Thank you all for watching. I'm out.